My mic is on now. All right. Looks like who's here is here. All right, so, all right. Everybody ready to come to order? All right, okay. Council will come to order. First thing, Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our veterans, servicemen, and women, and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Does anybody else have any offers to make at this moment, or just honors? All right. Otherwise, I'll just obeying the gavel, and we'll do the roll call. I'll say Councilor Sika. Let me. Well, Councilor McDonald. Oh, all right. So Councilor McDonald. Yeah.
A number of us just got this notification that a longtime volunteer at the Malden Warming Center, Fernanda Torres, who, if you had spent any time there, you first came to know her as a guest and then as the most dedicated and volunteered, present all the time. She spoke at the gala last year. It was very moving about how the center had impacted her life. She just passed away due to epilepsy. And so we hold her in our hearts and ask for a moment of silence. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you very much. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Condon. Councilor Crowe. Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Sika. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spadafora. Councilor Taylor. Council President Winslow.
Here. Right. So, all right. We've called the roll, and we have a guest speaker who is our clerk. So, City Clerk Carol Ann Desiderio will appear before the City Council to give a pre-election update on the state general election on November 5th, 2024. Do you want to just do it from here, or do you want to go up front?
I can just do it from here.
Okay, I think that's easiest for you, and yeah, I think that.
So thank you for this opportunity to talk to the city and the council today about the election. We have the election coming up on November 5th. We have a couple of announcements to make regarding the elections. The city is working diligently right now through our election prep list. And we got in 172 cases of mail-in ballots from the state just last week. So far, because of those vote-by-mail cards that everybody's been getting in the mail from the Secretary of State's office, we have 8,500 applications on file. So first and foremost, I just want to praise my staff. We are working, it seems like, round the clock trying to get out thousands of ballots all at the same time. That's just the first mailing. We also have more cards coming in every single day. So to the public, I would respectfully ask for you to, as happy as we are that everybody is excited to vote and looking for their ballot, which I think is great. The excitement in the city right now is really wonderful to see. But please stop calling, because every time we have to answer the phone or answer an email explaining why you don't have a ballot yet, it's 5 more minutes that I'm taking away from stuffing ballots and getting them in the mail. So I promise you we're working on it. Right now we have processed up to Ward 4. So wards 1 and 2 probably have already received their ballots. 3 and 4, you'll be getting it within the next day or two. 5, 6, 7, and 8, we're going to be working through the rest of the week trying to get those out into the mail as soon as possible. We have early voting for people who like to fill out their ballots and don't want to get them in the mail. They want to come down to City Hall in person. You can do early voting between Saturday, October 19th is the first day. You will hear on TV that it goes until November 1st, but because we are closed on November 1st, we are cutting, in the city of Malden only, we are cutting early voting on October 31st because we'll be doing pre-processing of ballots on that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So what that means is the early voting period in the city of Malden goes from Saturday, October 19th until Thursday, October 31st. Voting hours during our regular work days when we're open will be the regular City Hall hours. On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, voting will be at City Hall here in the front lobby from 9 to 1. And we are rolling out our second attempt this year at mobile early voting. So on Friday, I think it's Friday the 20th, I'm sorry. I'll look that up, the second Friday of the early voting. Our mobile early voting will be down on the east side of the city in the community room at the police station. And that's the 25th. That's the 25th of October, Friday, October 25th, at the police station, 9 to 1. If you're down on that side of the city, you don't want to come all the way to City Hall, we'll be taking early voting there. Also, I want to make people aware that the ballot this year, because we have 5 ballot questions, it's a 2-page ballot, front and back. It's translated in English and in Chinese, and all of the candidates' names have been transliterated into their Chinese pronunciations. So please, when you get your ballot, don't panic. Don't think that we sent you 2 ballots. We get this question all the time. It's actually a 2-page ballot, front and back. Please make sure that you're careful to read both sides. We don't want you to miss your opportunity to vote on anything. And if you've got any questions about the ballot questions, you should have received this red book in the mail. If you didn't, you can find them at the senior center, the library, here at City Hall. We have them in English, Spanish, and Chinese. And this tells you everything you need to know about the ballot questions. One thing that you will see on your ballot that's not highlighted in this red book is that the Northeast Metropolitan Vocational Regional School Committee actually gets voted in every 4 years, and this is the ballot you'll see them on. So in addition to all of the offices that are happening right now, we've got the Regional School Committee there as well. You're gonna see something that says Blanca from Chelsea, Ward Hamilton from Melrose. Usually we can't vote for people outside of our district, but because this is a regional vote, you are allowed to vote for these people, even though it says that they're from a different city. That's a question that people get confused on. They see the ballot, they think that they can only vote for the Malden guy. This is a regional vote. You are allowed to vote for any candidate that's on this ballot, regardless of what city he represents on behalf of the vote. So, couple things to note, interesting things, I think they're interesting, about our ballot this year. We covered early voting, we covered vote by mail. Just a couple of dates I want people to be aware of. If you do want to vote by mail, you need to get your vote by mail application to City Hall by October 29th. That is the cutoff date for us to accept new applications, because if we take them any later than that, the mail will never get to back and forth to the houses on time. So we have to give ourselves a little bit of window. November 5, Tuesday, November 5th is Election Day. Polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. If you go to cityofmalden.org/vote, you'll get all the information that you need, where to vote, how to vote, sample ballots so that you can look up your ward and see exactly what your ballot looks like. And I think that's about it. Did I miss anything? Good. Oh, I did miss something. I was just going to mention that on tonight's council agenda, we're also going to be voting on the warrant that officially announces the election to the inhabitants of the city of Malden. So that's one of our papers on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Excellent. So, Councilor McDonald. Yeah.
Thank you, City Clerk. I just wanted to ask 2 questions about mail-in ballots for folks who may be watching. That are questions I often get, and I think I know the answer, but I think it's better if you answer them explicitly. So the first is, if you've requested a mail-in ballot in the past, do you have to request a new one every year, or does the city track that and simply put you on the mail-in ballot distribution list?
All of the best answers start with that depends. It depends on how they filled out their application at the beginning of the year. Some people only asked for a specific ballot in March or in September. And then after that election passed, their application was void. Some people, if they chose the option to get all ballots all year, then they get all the ballots for the whole rest of the year until December 31st. So even if a special election popped up at the last minute we didn't know about, those people would automatically get a ballot,
So that's helpful. And to just clarify, though, every year you have to request them. We don't automatically send mail-in ballots to anyone. You have to request one.
Mail-in ballots are never automatically sent to anybody. The request for a ballot is only good per the calendar year, so every January, if you think you're going to want to vote by mail again in the next year's election, you have to submit a new application. The applications that were mailed out by the Secretary of State's office this year was just an application, not a ballot. I want to be clear that we don't send out unsolicited ballots. Those postcards from the Secretary of State's office only come out during state elections. So 2025 is a municipal year. People will have to take the initiative to get their own vote-by-mail applications and mail them in to us. But I can tell you, anytime somebody registers to vote, changes their voting status, changes anything that comes through my office where I have to send them an acknowledgement letter of a new voter status, they get a vote-by-mail application mailed to them. So they can save that till 2025 and submit that as well.
Great, and I'm sure we'll have more chances to talk as we get closer to the election, also about ways that people can submit their ballots, but if you get a mail-in ballot, you can mail it back, or you can drop it off, correct, at one of the city drop boxes?
Yes, you can drop it off at City Hall in person. You can put it in our 24/7 available drop boxes. One is located outside of City Hall at 215 Pleasant Street. Our other drop box is located outside the police station at 800 Eastern Avenue. It's an outside box. It's under surveillance, but it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We really encourage people to drop off their ballots personally, just because we don't ever want to risk the lag of the post office losing a ballot for whatever reason. It's just always better to bring it back. What we do have to tell people is that they are not allowed to bring a vote-by-mail ballot to the polling location on Election Day. Those ballots they're hand processed when they go out. When they come back in, we count every one of them. We check signatures. Those vote-by-mail ballots must be returned to City Hall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Counselor Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to our clerk. That was amazing. I honestly don't know how you get through these weeks. It's such long days. I really don't want that to go unmentioned. So my question that I get a lot from constituents has to do with college students, and I'll also add to that folks who are voting for the first time. What should folks who have students away from Malden at college do if they want to vote in Massachusetts? Can they do that? And also, if folks need to register to vote, is it too late to do that?
That's a great question, thank you. I don't think I mentioned that. So the last day to register to vote or to change your party affiliation in any way is October 26th. So we still have plenty of time. If you're not already registered to vote, please do come in. We've seen an influx of brand new immigrants coming in the past couple weeks to register to vote for the first time, which is awesome to see. So there's still plenty of time to register to vote. If you are registered to vote, you can vote no matter where you are in the world. If you're military overseas, we have ways to make that happen. If you're a college student, we can send your ballot directly to your dorm. So what you can do is download from the Secretary of State's website or from City of Malden/vote a vote-by-mail application. Give us your mailing address where you're registered to, your registered address where you live in Malden, your mailing address where your dorm room is located, and your ballot will get sent directly to college. And then with the return envelope, you just fill it out and send it right back to us. Overseas voters, we have a different procedure, but anywhere in the world, if you're registered here in Malden, we'll make sure that you vote.
Great. I had one other question, just out of curiosity. For the transliterations, I know what it's like when we're on the ballot and you've invited us in and gone over the process and we get to see the transliterated name get developed. How do you handle that for national races?
So thankfully, we were able to take the bigger candidates at the state and federal, and those transliterations were offered to us by the Secretary of State's office. The City of Boston does them as well, so any city in Massachusetts that uses transliterations, those names all have to be coordinated through the Secretary of State's office, because you don't want one ballot saying one thing, and then a different ballot in a different city saying a different thing or pronunciation. So those came down to us from the Secretary of State's office, and then the local races that are specific just to Malden. We worked on that with our amazing interpreter and translator, Anase, in our office. She worked with each one of these candidates personally.
Wow.
And then our Board of Registrars of Voters has to review them and vote on them, and all those were open public meetings that we had right here in City Hall. It's quite a process.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's awesome. Thank you for going over that.
Thank you.
All right. Any more? I just have one question myself. Poll workers, how are we fully staffed?
Oh, my goodness.
And translators as well?
That is such a great question. Thank you for saying that, because I have wonderful news. For the first time in many, many, many years since I've been with the City of Malden, we are getting to the point where we are able to overstaff all of our polling locations right now. So in the last minute, if there's ever a sick call, or we try to overstaff a little bit. So if there's a no-call, no-show, if there's a sick call, it's hard to do that because, as you know, we're always searching for poll workers. But for some reason, in my office, we've been calling it the Taylor Swift effect. But for some reason, we're having a lot of youth come out. I think that they're seeing it in their media, like Taylor Swift told people to go out and register to vote, and all of a sudden, we got like a bunch of teenagers come in and register to vote. So that's what we're calling it upstairs, because we have a lot of young people that are coming forward and being inspired to get involved. So we're doing pretty well with poll workers, and I'm really happy to say that we're also going to have either bilingual poll workers or language assistants represented in all 27 of our precincts. We did in September as well, and we'll be able to fill that again in November. So we're excited about that.
So, and just another question on poll workers. I know for the primary, I happened to, go up to like the Moose Lodge, and they were like, maybe because their coverage was light for the primary, just being able to go out and get coffee or some food. How are we handling that?
Yeah,
It's
that's
a long
why,
day.
it's a very
it's
long day. So, and that's why we try to
Mm-hmm.
overstaff, to
Right.
make sure that we can move people around, there's plenty of coverage. Those poll workers get a 1 hour break for lunch, another 1 hour break for dinner in the evening, and you just have to make sure you have enough bodies to move around. So I feel confident that we're gonna be able to do that. And one question I do get from poll workers or potential poll workers quite often, because it is a long day, they ask if they can work half shifts. My answer to that question, Councilor McDonald, is it depends.
Yes.
If you can find a buddy that wants to split that shift with you, I've got no problem letting people split that shift. We'll do the training, we'll figure it all out. But when I have 5 inspectors that want to work from like 6 a.m. to noon, they can't leave at noon if I don't have somebody to work from noon to 8. So if you're out there and you're listening and you have a friend, maybe you guys don't want to take the commitment to the whole day, husband and wife team want to come in and split the shift, we got no problem with that. And I would encourage that, because I think more people would come forward if they thought that they were able to do the whole day without becoming too fatigued.
Great. Well, excellent. Good to hear. And everybody, you're already being able to vote. So if you get your ballots or come out starting on the 19th, please exercise that important right we all have. So thank you. All right. All right. And then public comment. Do we have received any public comments? All right. So we'll go on to the next thing, our consent agenda. This evening's consent agenda consists of meeting minutes to be approved, 1 appointment to be referred to Personnel Committee, 2 appointments to be placed on file, and 1 order to be adopted. Does any counselor have a desire to remove any of these items from the consent agenda for further discussion? All right, so I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda. So moved by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor Taylor. All those in favor say aye. The consent agenda is thereby adopted. Next order of business, motions and orders. Clerk, will you read the next one up?
Paper 374-24, order that the Malden City Council adopts the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan 2024 update established by the Malden Emergency Management Team, outlining concept of operations and coordination of Malden's Emergency Operations Center. When activated during an emergency situation, the CEMP authorizes respective departments and/or agencies to execute their responsibilities demonstrated in the plan on behalf of the City of Malden. And we have Sergeant J.P. Kelly here tonight to talk about this, if you have any questions.
All right, Sergeant Kelly, why don't you come up and give your name and role here and tell us about the plan?
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me, Council. Sergeant John P. Kelly, Malden Police Department, also the City of Malden Emergency Management Director for the last 2.5 years. This plan was needed to be updated. We went through it. I met with our local MEMA coordinator, Lauren Sardella Mahoney, over the last year. We updated several, mostly locations, buildings, and some plans throughout the plan. Basically, the purpose of the plan for the City of Malden Comprehensive Emergency Management is for, to establish an overall framework for the integration and coordination of emergency management and responsibility activities to facilitate and coordinate response to any emergency event in the community requiring multi-agent response and support. I was able to send you a digital copy to the council to review. It is pretty lengthy. It is fluid if we need to change stuff over the next 6 years. That's something that we're able to do. One of the things in there is already when we started this, we had one superintendent, now we have another. So there is a signature page on here that's kind of fluid that will change. But other than that, it's a really good framework just to bring local agencies together. Something happens, who does what, assigns responsibilities, and puts people to work right away in case of emergencies. Some of the things are, assigned responsibilities to agencies, organizations, individuals for carrying out specific actions during the emergency or the event. It details the methods and procedures to be used by designated personnel to assess emergencies, and to take appropriate actions to save lives, reduce injuries, prevent or minimize damage to public and private property, and protect the environment. And it also would provide a process by which emergency response personnel and local government staff can efficiently and effectively prevent, mitigate, prepare for, respond to, recover from emergencies and disasters. And it also identifies the responsibilities of the local agencies, partnering with stakeholders, and organizing during emergencies and events. So that's basically, that goes through the plan. It gives the emergency operation centers, which would be the PD and a secondary one, and it breaks down the different areas that we would need to address, during the emergency, and who would cover those. So.
Great. So just to give a little perspective to the council, we are all knowing of the imminent dangers down in Florida. We live in a hurricane zone or a blizzard zone. How would this plan be kicked into effect if we were facing something like that here? Just to give some perspective, yes.
Yep, that would start with the activation, right? Is that if something come up, the team would get together, emergency management team would get together, meet with local officials, would make a decision when to activate. Once it was activation, it could be, it would determine the level of seriousness. If a hurricane was going to hit Rhode Island, we wouldn't need to necessarily activate right away. Would kind of plan, kind of like Florida's doing now. And then would utilize our local officials and our local utilities and responders in the area, police, fire, EMS, to basically set up a command post at the EOC, assign responsibilities, kind of go through this plan. This was something that would be in the EOC, Emergency Operations Center, and just start assigning responsibilities to prepare. And that's basically what it's about, is the preparation, mitigation, response, and recovery. That's the 4 steps of this plan, and that would be the preparation. And then once we activate, it would kind of, the light would turn on, like in here, the light would turn on, and the plan would, everybody would take their responsibilities in their roles to further, until the emergency was all set.
Great. Well, excellent. So anybody have any further questions? And so what's the council's role here so we have the responsibility to, I've had a chance to review it, and it looks good. I had a few questions, but, it definitely in terms of the major risks the city has, this all covers that. And, we have a great, a worthy fire department, police department, public works staff, our executive staff that are all very well couched in emergency management. So I think that's great. So Councilor O'Malley has a question, or did okay. So yeah, just in terms of the council role here, we're just going to make a motion to adopt the order. Is that's really you're just looking for us to, we got the opportunity to review it, and then we're gonna basically adopt this, and this will be the city's emergency management plan. So it's just. Did anybody have any other questions about that, or just do you want to make that motion, Councilor O'Malley, or just? Okay, all right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I was going to say I also wanted to understand what it means for us to adopt the comprehensive plan. Are we the body under state law that has to adopt this plan? Is there like how often do we need to do this? Is there a deadline that we're aiming for like a grant? I'm just trying to understand, because I haven't had a chance to fully read through it, and I just want to understand why is this here today?
Okay, so basically every six years, we update it, right? So this last one, it had some stuff that was on Jackson Street, that used to be the old Emergency Operations Center. So that's why we constantly review it. I review this every year, to make any changes. As part of our accreditation, the Malden Police Department was just accredited. We got their certification, and as part of that, we have to look over these emergency management plans. And that was one of them that we were able to look over, work with our partners at MEMA, who are great. And, we back and forth with them, we were able to come up with a plan that is, again, we can change it, meaning we can add to it if something happens, if a building, if the police station moves, obviously, at the end of the year, you don't want to wait 6 years to move the address. But it's basically, this book is that when something happens, we go to this book, we sit down with the local officials and make the determinations, and it's just basically an outline of if an emergency does occur, what everybody's roles are. And then we can, if we need to improve it, if we see something, if we do have an emergency, and then we do a de-escalation or something after action report, and we say, you know what, we might want to add this. I heard Florida today, they were talking about, they're already making plans to add stuff to what doesn't work this time. The guy said it, the city official said it right on the spot, and it hasn't even hit yet. So it's something that's kind of growing each time we look at it, but we go over it every year as part of the accreditation, and then every 6 years we'll update the whole thing with the help from MEMA.
Thank you. And then just, as I was trying to go through it, I see that there is different incident commanders depending on the severity of things. So is it the emergency management team that would select who the commander is based on the type of emergency? I'm assuming that if it was a terrorist attack, it most likely would be police who would be the incident command. If it's a conflagration, like a giant fire, maybe it would be fire who's in charge. Is there always the same person, or is that determined by the management team who's going to be calling the shots on a specific incident?
It would be a different name, but the same type of person. There'd be an incident commander as a unified command on something large, and then myself as a emergency management director would have my role. And the names might change. It might go from Kelly to something else, but that would just be that same framework that's in here. So we'd have the outline of, okay, I'm not the emergency management director. They would step in, take that role, and it lists their roles and responsibilities. So if engine 1 was working tonight and engine 2 is working tomorrow night, and not something happened Monday night, engine 1, that chief would take, a deputy chief would take, might be the incident commander. So it would change, the names would change, but the incident commander would stay, who he responds to, what the emergency management director does. And the roles and responsibilities are basically broken down in here, and that's the unified command.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Councilor McDonald.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for folks watching, I think it's also important to note that this is the comprehensive emergency management plan, but we've also reviewed and adopted a municipal vulnerability plan, which is a kind of a risk assessment that then informs our sensibility about when we might need to activate this plan. Am I describing that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is very, very operational. And forgive me if you've already said this, Sergeant, but can you just clarify, are there major structural changes beyond just updates that went into this version of the plan from 6 years ago?
What I noticed was evacuation routes. We're gonna, we incorporated the schools. So if we needed to evacuate, and this is one of the stuff that we took from meeting with MEMA, is that other communities do that. So if we had to say have an evacuation, people would go in the communities to the local schools, which are on here, and then would work with the T to get buses to them, and then, take them out, say if we had to take them to, say, just Gillette Stadium, just to have a point of reference, right? Or TD Garden, someplace out of the area. That's how we would run it. And we'd work with our partners from the T, which we've already partnered with in the past. So between that, some of the addresses, the basically framework is the same from the last one, is that the MEMA had that, and we worked together over the last year to kind of just make sure that basically the address and the rest of the stuff was updated, city, the names and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay,
Yep.
that's helpful. My other question was, as we just endorsed our citywide climate action plan, which I know you've been in
Yep.
some of the discussions about, those are obviously the potential source of many types of natural disasters and community-wide disasters. Have you done modeling or training specifically around some of the more climate crisis impacted disasters? So like, have you done training around where floods would be likely to happen and thought about how you would deploy that? Because we have, the MEMA maps of flooding.
Yep.
And, or like in an extreme heat wave, what would that require for our seniors and for our, for schools and so on? Like, so can you talk about what kind of training preparation you've done specifically around that or plan to do?
Yep. So that's, and someone asked earlier, so that would be part of this plan, but like hazard mitigation plan. You know what I mean? Like we talked about the flooding, when I
Right.
got that approved a couple years ago. That's more like a comprehensive study. Like Council Winslow, we talked about on the east side and how to mitigate some of the flooding on that portion of the city. And also some of the grants and stuff we were talking about the west side flooding and how that was a floodplain at one point, but it really isn't. So now that's where you kind of got to update what's the everyday. We seem to get heavy and heavier rains, especially over the last couple of years. I'm seeing flooding now, at Ferry and Center, which I'd never saw before.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is that happening? So I think some of that, to answer your question, some of that is mitigation, and that's part of the hazard mitigation plan. As for flooding, it's you see this, you take that command, it wouldn't be a unified command, it'd be just an incident command and say, okay, we're gonna shut off this whole area, work with the local officials, myself, DPW, everybody has roles. And it's basically, you just shrink it down. If it ain't a major thing, you just shrink it down to the people who you need, for that incident, and you use the same structure on each one of these.
Right. So thank you. And I understand that this plan is agnostic about the disaster. It could be used for any disaster and scaled as you need. I just think that watching what's happening in Florida and North Carolina, that we all need to reckon at a different level with the amount of disaster that can be caused very quickly and with very little warning. Much of that is beyond what we as a municipality can manage on our own, but I think the odds of these kinds of 100-year storms go up every year. And so just thinking more about what are the scenarios we need to be as ready for as possible. I don't know to what degree that impacts the generalized plan versus maybe certainly mitigation and other specific scenarios, but it's just something that I think is weighing on all of our minds. So I appreciate you sharing some of that.
And to add to that point is that another great resource to this plan is working with MEMA and working with Lauren, like multiple times a year. I'm going to a training next month, out there, and it's great that people answer the phone and you talk and you give, I pick her brain with other communities like Malden. Hey, like look at Leominster, that was devastating, right? And I had just gone to a training on trying to recover financial stuff and how much it's got to be from the state and the MEMA and federal. And I really think they probably should have got approved for all that funding, and they didn't. And I just went to the class and I just went to the training, and I'm like, oh, they'll definitely qualify. It's like going to a training and then something happens, you're kind of up to date on it. And I feel like if that happened there, and they're not really going to get their funding that they should get, and it's devastating. But by working with MEMA, on a monthly basis, and getting to know them and getting to know the resources they provide. Someone had asked me about an earthquake. Well, if something happened, right, the next level is MEMA, Mass, right? That they have resources. They've got equipment. I could call them tomorrow and get basically whatever we needed, within 24 hours, if Malden needed. So We don't need all those, you can see all the resources Florida has. You reach out to your partners. It's all about a partnership, right? And then when they need us, you know, if they need 5 signboards, we'll give them our 5 signboards, you know, but it's just that constant communication with the state, who has the next level with the feds, that I think building those relationships is really, you know, critical in these plans, but also in times of crisis, that we're able to reach out and, you know, they support us just like we'd support them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Counselor Linehan.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, Sergeant. That was really interesting. And sorry to hit you with that question before about the hazard mitigation, but I asked it not to sound wonky or whatever, but because I think there's a public component to that is necessarily not in this due to confidentiality and sort of needing to not, right, publish this on our agenda. It's not something the public can look up, but I think the hazard mitigation planning is something that has a little bit more public engagement. So I would urge folks, if they're interested in learning more about things like that, I know that's something that we can post on the city website, and it's something that we always struggle to get people to give input in, even though it's critically important. So just, you know, I want to say thank you also for doing this kind of important behind the scenes work that I think most people really take for granted until an emergency happens. And if we haven't done this preparation, we sure know about it, but it's not the type of thing that most people think about day in and day out. So thank you for being part of it and for briefing us on it. It's very interesting.
Thank you very much.
Counselor Colin Hayes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. Actually, Councilor Linehan just brought up what I was going to say. So just to reiterate to the public, whoever's watching tonight, that because of confidentiality, you aren't going to be able to look this up online. So I was just going to say that too, because I know I usually post things on my page, but this isn't something that you're going to be able to find online, and that was intentional for confidentiality. Thank you.
Yeah, just one final question for you, Sergeant. One of the things, watching news and stuff like that, actually, my one brother lived by the big chemical fire down in Atlanta, literally in the middle of my family reunion. He's taking a phone call. His wife was, having to maybe evacuate with their horses, so it was, very kind of a tough situation. So that type of thing. But one of the things I know down in the Houston area, there was just a big natural gas pipeline that broke. We do have a big pipeline that runs through Malden now. What plan does any incident related to that? I didn't see that in this plan, so I didn't know whether that's just too much of a detail here, or I didn't see that, so I just was curious about that.
So that would also be covered in this plan as
Yeah.
like an all hazards,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And
yeah.
is that happens, and we had a chemical spill of somewhat down at Sharon Street last year.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But something big like that,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? I actually just went to training today. We had a tabletop today. So we're part of the Mystic REPC.
Okay.
Okay, so it's more of a regional planning committee.
Okay.
That, we pay to be part of, but they gave us training, they gave us resources, they made connections. And as part of that, it says like, we don't have like certain things that people are like, well, we wouldn't have this happen in our community. Well, we don't have hazardous materials in Malden. This cargo is being carried down Route 60.
Right.
So there's certain maps and certain, chemical books that we go by that is, I've learned over the last couple of years, is so important. We had the chemical incident on Sharon Street. Fire department showed up. I responded. We set up the command. We reached out to the state hazmat team, which is great. They're local firemen. They come together. They're team one. They come down. They bring the van. They set up, and there's a command. It's in action, just like that. Did we call the news saying, hey, we set up a command post? No, that's kind of how quick it happens, and everybody knows their responsibilities as being professional, whether it's police officer, fireman, and that something like that would, if God forbid something were to happen to the gas line, then that would be MEMA. Like, we would use our plan set up here, right, and look for them for resources, but would be the boots on the ground, and they would use us to say, hey, what do you need? Do you need this? Do you need that? But again, that comes back to, the partnership that we have with MEMA.
Right.
And I think we have a pretty good one.
All right, great. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll take the motion to, Counselor O'Malley, and then we'll Okay, Councilor
I
O'Malley.
just had one more question.
Yep.
The plan references a attached document called line of succession.
Yes.
I didn't see it attached. Would you be able to send it to us?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, will do.
Appreciate it.
Great. All right, I think we've had a pretty good discussion, Sergeant, very good. It's always, you know, it is a responsibility that falls to our, you know, public safety folks, but we get impacted as counselors because, you know, we really want to make sure our residents understand, and, you know, one of the things is to have a strong plan helps reassure us and helps us reassure our residents that things are being handled in a planned and thoughtful manner, and the resources can come. So thank you so much for that effort. And then, so Councilor O'Malley on a motion to adopt the order, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor, say aye. No, any opposed? All right, the order has been adopted. Thank you so much, Sergeant. All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Good evening.
Thank you. Take care. All right. Next paper things. Right.
Paper 375-24 resolved that it is the sense of the Malden City Council that car washes, which make minor changes to motor vehicles by providing cleaning services and/or accessories for motor vehicles, are most closely described by and encompassed in the definition of service stations in the Code of the City of Malden, Title 12, Chapter 32, Section 060B, Definitions, Zoning. Sponsor Ryan O'Malley.
So Councilor O'Malley for the paper.
Thank you. So in your email, you have the link to our definitions section, which is 1232.060. I'm just going to read the definition of service station. We have car washes are not defined in our zoning. They are mentioned in our zoning, but not defined. I think we all kind of generally know what a car wash is. So when someone wants to open up a car wash, there needs to be a decision about what requirements are they going to need to follow. And talking to some counselors, talking to different city staff, it's my belief that service station is the closest use that we have defined. And so I'm just going to read the full definition of service stations so that it's clear kind of what the city council thinks when it comes to this. So yeah, that section kind of defines a ton of different things. For instance, one of the definitions is like a gas filling station. And I don't think that it kind of looks like a gas filling station, but it really is, it's not, the primary purpose is not gas filling. And oftentimes you'll have car washes attached to gas stations where it's like, they always trick you. They're like, here's the price with a car wash. And you're like, why did I pull in here? I'm not getting my car washed. So I think the service station is the closest definition, which says a building or structure or part thereof used for supplying accessories to or parts of motor vehicles for profit, including fuel, which facilitates for making minor changes and adjustments to motor vehicles without, and this is the really crucial thing because this is not like an auto body, without the use of heavy machinery but not structural changes or major mechanical repairs. So this is not a auto body, this is not a mechanic. These are specifically where you would bring your automobile to be serviced. A service could be tweaking your windshield wipers. Another service is having your car washed. So I would like to make it clear that it's the sense of the city council that this is the closest definition until we have time to properly put a zoning paper through to maybe codify it if we want to have different requirements. I see that our city planner is raising her hand. It's up to the council. I have no objection.
All right, do we want to have our city planner come up? Michelle, you want to speak to this? All right, thank you. All right. All right, just,
Michelle
name
Romero,
and
City
roll.
Planner.
Okay.
I just wanted to, Council O'Malley and I have spoken about this, and Council Winslow and I spoke about this a year or so ago when he was talking about regulating car wash. My only concern with this is there is no separate use category for service station. There's gasoline filling in service station. So I understand what you're trying to do, but I'm not sure we would ever be able to do anything with that, because that service station use is attached to gasoline filling. It's not its own separate use category. So I think there used to be a category called automotive maintenance, and some of the other councils may remember that, where it did things, like you said, small, minor things that weren't that weren't body work. So I would suggest, if you could, I mean, you can do the resolution, I'm not saying you can't, but I don't think it's gonna serve any purpose, because there is no use category for service station. You can't come in and apply for a service station occupancy permit. It's attached to that gasoline filling the way it's written right now. So I think, we've talked, I think it would be a pretty simple, straightforward, if you wanna add a definition in the use category, or what you want. I mean, we are talking about, and we'll get to that, a potential zoning joint public hearing coming up before the end of the year. I'm just saying, just for the record, I just saw this for the first time, and I don't, I'm not sure if it's gonna accomplish what you want. So I wanted to make sure you knew that there's no way to regulate service stations separately.
Yeah, I appreciate your feedback on that. Thank you. So right now, the way car washes are being interpreted is retail services. Retail services are allowed by right in a lot of places in our community. When you think of and the other dynamic is retail services are not defined in our zoning ordinance. And I don't think that you get an occupancy permit for retail services. You usually get it, it's just like the classification. So I appreciate what our city planner is saying, but I do think it's helpful if we could pass the resolve to send the message to the public and the city that this is how we interpret car washes. I see.
Counselor Sika.
Why are we doing this?
This is, wait, why are we doing this?
Did I hear you're getting a car wash in your ward?
I can talk to you offline.
It just, a light bulb just went on in my head, and I'm like, oh my God, now I know why he's doing this.
Well, no, so the thing is, I don't really want to get into the specifics, but right now, car washes are not defined by our ordinances. There has been a decision to classify them as retail services. I don't think I think that a service station, if you look at what the definition is, more closely matches what a car wash is. It has to do with automobiles. You bring it in for a service, whether it's tweaking your, like I said, your mirrors or your...
Is this gonna change, like, detail shops hours? Because they currently fall under retail services. So like, what is it, Pro Cars on Broadway, next to the old Broken Yoke or Robert's Restaurant. So are they going to be, because currently, right now, they can stay open till 11 PM because they fall under retail services, so.
Yeah, they're not car washes.
Technically, they are, they wash cars.
Well, because the other route that we're thinking of going, because if we can't control where these go through the special permit process, then the other route is to limit, as Councilor Winslow has proposed, their hours of operation. And so the decision that we need to make as a city is, are we going to restrict when they can operate, so from 9 AM to 7 PM, or are we going to control where they go? And I would like to control where they go, rather than just having a blanket, you can't operate past 7 PM, which I think would be detrimental to their businesses. I would rather control where in the city they go.
So Ward 7 and Ward 8 are gonna get all this. You don't want anything in Ward 4, huh, Councilor O'Malley?
I and I think
This
that,
poor parcel is not gonna go anywhere if we try to micromanage it this way.
well, I would say that
L-
I would love to rezone the city with you, Counselor.
Can we table this and have this conversation offline before is this like a huge rush? It's a resolve, Counselor O'Malley. It means nothing. It doesn't mean anything more than the paper it's printed on. It's not like we're sending a paper into committee. Like, let's have this conversation before we sign on to a resolve.
It is a rather big thing for me because, I'll be honest with you, the neighborhood that this car wash is gonna be going into, like, potentially, I don't even know if this is gonna have an impact on that particular one, but today is the 21st day. You can appeal a building permit within 21 days. So the city council letting the world know what its opinion on this is rather important. And it comes down to, do we think a car wash is a retail service, which, you know,
Popeyes doesn't look so bad now, does it, Counselor O'Malley?
no, the main concern that people had about that particular proposal was the heavy in and out traffic in a pedestrian zone.
This is gonna be 10 times worse. They should have agreed on Popeyes.
So if the council could express its opinion about whether or not car washes are more like retail services or service centers,
This is insane.
it would really help me out. Thank you.
Counselor O'Malley, we have been getting along, and I have a newfound friendship in you, but I cannot support this resolve. You cannot stick the rest of the city with fast food chains, car washes, and everything else, and expect Ward 4 to be nice and quiet and not have to deal with, what did they say? Air quality, air pollutants, emissions from the cars that were gonna idle in the drive-through. I cannot support this. I don't even think, I can't support it right now.
All right.
Sorry.
Anybody else wishing to talk right at the moment? So, yeah, I mean, as I learned in Ward 6, we are not sufficiently regulating across the city this use. I mean, we had one that I know Councilor Simonelli had to, and Councilor Anderson had to deal with Ward 7. They dealt with the noise and that type of thing, and that was what I was trying to do in Ward 6. I mean, I'm not a great fan, but I mean, I think it is the type of thing, if this is allowable use in the city, that, you know, other communities, they have a lot of, you know, have stricter regulations on this use. So, so if we are allowing this use, I am supportive of generally having stricter regulations. And I think it is, you know, it's as much a stretch to put it into service as it is into retail. So I will support it, but I do think we have to, you know, it is a more thing like that. We don't really regulate this use, and it can be noisy and disruptive and other type of things and that could be anywhere in the city. So, I mean, this is a resolve. I don't know if it will solve Councilor O'Malley's dilemma. I mean, ironically, he was not that supportive of me and the noise thing, so there is a little bit of tweak there. So it's come around, you know. So you could have helped me there. It might have helped you here, but I will, you know, so supportive here. But it is the type of thing that is a use that is, you know, causing disruption to our people in our neighborhoods, the newer ones. So I think it's something we need to at least tighten them, and you know, I think it is. We do have to think about how we better regulate this use, because it's something that yes, people need it, but I think I found that, you know, in the new one in Ward 6, there could have been, if we had better rules in place, we could have required better sound controls, and that would have helped mitigate that use, that type of thing. So, So, all right, thank you very much. Counselor Linehan and then Counselor Crowe, so yeah.
Thank you. I didn't hear a motion to table, but I would say that I would be in favor of, I would support that. I feel like I need a little more information. And I'm sorry that I didn't have a chance to give you a call, Counselor O'Malley. When I saw this on the agenda, I was a little confused. I was hoping it didn't mean that you had a car wash proposed for your ward, but it sounds like maybe you do, which is disappointing. I don't really feel like we need any more anywhere, regardless of ward. I don't think we need more fast food either. I think we're kind of saturated. I'd love for us to be able to get more of the things that our residents are asking for and not more of the same things that we have had a lot of already. I would love to just understand what other communities are doing to be a little more proactive around this use or how they regulate them, to Councilor Winslow's point. The one on Broadway is just, we still get emails about that. I mean, it is really bright and noisy and it's open all the time and it's a disaster for pedestrians. Like, there's a lot of issues that I think we could have maybe had some better design that come out of that without restricting the use. It's popular, I mean, it's busy all the time. I'm not doubting that people use it and patronize it and that there's a need for car washes, but I'd just like to know maybe a little bit more about what the other options are. I'm not sure that this use is resonating for me or that it's gonna actually solve your problem. And I wanna be part of trying to solve this, not just for one parcel, but for the city as a whole. So I don't think I'm ready to support it, but I would be in favor of tabling it to do a little bit more research or maybe bring it back.
All right, so we have motion to table, we have Counselor Crowe, and then we'll take a
Thank you.
motion to table.
I agree with the tabling motion, because I do think a resolve is just the sense of the city council. It doesn't really put any of those, rules and regulations of how we are gonna address it. So I think even if we table, I'm not sure if we send it to a committee if you really want to make some changes in the zoning, then it has to go through the whole process. So this doesn't seem like, I think, Michelle said it, just really not gonna have a lot of teeth. It's just a wish.
So I just have a question for our clerk here. Motion to table, do I have to take that without any, I heard that Counselor Condon seconded, so we have a motion to table, second by Counselor Condon. Do we have any more discussion on that, or do we discuss the table? Or do we?
Well, I think that closes the discussion on the paper.
Okay.
Did you want to discuss the tabling motion?
So we can discuss the tabling motion? So yeah, does anybody want to have discussion on that? So Counselor O'Malley wants to discuss the tabling motion, and then we'll take a vote on the table motion. So motion to table, right?
So just and why I don't think we should table it tonight is that, as I mentioned, today is the 21st day of when a building permit has been issued for a car wash at 1100 Main Street, which is where they were proposing to put a Popeyes. The main feedback that the public gave to the applicant and property owner, 30 days.
30, okay, so.
I was under the impression you had 21 days to appeal a building permit. Our city planner is letting me know that you have 30 days. Regardless, I don't want to appeal I don't want to appeal the building permit. I really don't want to appeal the building permit. I don't even know if I have standing to appeal the building permit. I do know the abutters and my residents who live next to it and are going to have 12 vacuums going all day likely would have standing to appeal the building permit. What I'm really looking to do is send a message to our city staff that the city council does not think that car washes should be interpreted as retail services, but rather a different use. We do not, because you have to make a decision. When someone comes before you and your zoning is silent on it, you have to make a decision, what bucket am I going to put this in terms of uses? Retail services are allowed by right in many parts of our community, which means car washes are allowed by right in many parts of our community, which means you don't need to get any special permit or any, so I think that tonight would be a great time to do that. I understand that we maybe have some more time. If we do table it, maybe a week would be great, so we can take it up next week. Thank you.
All right, so let's take a roll call on the motion to table.
Counselor Cologne Hayes. This is the motion, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll call a motion to table, yes, so, yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, so
So-
it's not, I can't, I was going to ask something about the motion to table to see, I just heard, Councilor O'Malley say a time limit? Like, could we had a friendly, or is tabling just tabling and that's it? Just table, okay, okay.
Yeah, right.
So on the motion to table this paper by Sika, seconded by Condon, Counselor Cologne Hayes? No. Counselor Condon? Yes. Counselor Crowe? Yes. Counselor Linehan?
Yes.
Counselor McDonald?
No.
Counselor O'Malley?
No.
Counselor Sika?
Yes.
Counselor Taylor?
Yes.
Council President Winslow?
I will vote no, so it's not tabled.
The paper has been tabled.
Oh, did we have 5 votes for tabling?
Condon, Crowe, Linehan, Sika, and Taylor is
Okay.
5 votes
5 votes,
in
all right.
favor of tabling.
So the paper is therefore tabled, all right? Next order of business.
Paper 376-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, Title 12, is hereby amended as follows.
Do you want to read it then?
Well,
or-
so with this paper came a presentation from the city planner and the building inspector, the commissioner, and it's a 4-page proposal of many different amendments that need to be made in Section 12 just to kind of clean up our zoning ordinances. A bunch of little things here and there, it's 4 pages long.
So just have Counselor Linehan for the paper?
I can be really brief. I think I'm going to invite our city planner to come up and be available to answer questions, but this essentially is administrative cleanup of the zoning. This arose while we were taking up a paper that's further on our docket in Rules and Ordinance related to site plan review for religious and educational uses, and we discovered not only that we needed to add daycare as an explicit use in discussion of that paper, but that actually there are other sections of our zoning that refer in a non-compliant way, I'll say, with state law in regards to daycares. So it was the sense of our city planner that if we are moving towards having a joint hearing or a public hearing with Rules and Ordinance and the Planning Board that later this fall anyway, that we put this in as well and try to do this cleanup. As our city clerk said, it's very small, like line items through several pages of the code. Everybody should have it attached to the agenda. But again, Ms. Romero has offered to be here. If folks do have questions more in depth than that, but again, it arose from our discussion of the new site plan review process for those other uses.
Planner Romero, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm here if you have any questions, or I don't know if you want me to go through all of them. I mean, they are, as Council Linehan and as the city clerk said, they clarify some existing provisions. They codify current protocol and interpretation. They do streamline permitting. So in that sense, there are a couple that I would call less administrative, but not substantially making substantial changes and then updating the ordinance in accordance with state law. So I can go through them all to point out which ones, or just answer questions, however you want to handle it.
Does, Counselor Sika, yep.
Thank you. I just assumed this was going to get sent to committee and we were going to have this discussion in committee.
Yeah, that's fine, if you want to make the motion to just refer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to-
I'm not comfortable voting on this
Yeah, no,
evening.
that is,
yeah.
right now,
Okay.
if you want to make the motion to refer.
I make a
to-
motion to refer this to ordinance.
Well, I think we were thinking of referring it to Rules and Ordinance and Planning, just to, yeah, so.
Oh,
okay,
we're gonna have the conversation?
Yes.
Oh, that's fine.
Alright.
That's fine.
All right, so maybe, so Counselor Linehan, want to make that motion, seconded by Counselor Sika. So the motion is to refer this paper to a joint hearing with the Planning Board and Rules and Ordinance Committee. Motion by Counselor Linehan, seconded by Counselor Sika. Any further discussion? So all those in favor of that referral, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that referral is made. So, and we can, if people have questions, you read the paper and it'll come up at that, when that meeting is scheduled, all right? So, next order of business.
Paper 377-24, communication, Malden Historical Commission regarding 15 Ferry Street, M.I. to Converse Building, Malden Industrial Aid Association Building.
All right, so we have this communication. Again, our planner, Romero, who's involved with the Historical Commission, is here to talk about a little bit of the context here, and then I think maybe we'll ask. Yeah, and then we're going to first have our clerk read the letter into the record, and then we'll have, thank you.
From the Malden, sorry, Michelle, from the Malden Historical Commission, dear Mayor Christensen, President Winslow, and city councilors. As directed by the Malden Historical Commission, this letter serves to update and remind you of the unresolved status of the preservation of 15 Ferry Street, namely the M. Ida Converse Building and Malden Industrial Aid Society Association Building, one of the remaining 3 Converse buildings in the city, and of great historic significance to our community, as documented in the attached Massachusetts Historical Commission Inventory Form MAL 491. Following its last update to you via letter dated February 21 of 2024, the Commission received notice from Building Commissioner Nelson Miller that a demolition permit was issued on March 6, 2024, given Mr. Miller's determination that the application was not subject to Title 4.24, the demolition and alteration delay ordinance, based on the January 30th, 2024 opinion of City Solicitor Alicia McNeil. With the issuance of the demolition permit, time is of the essence, even more than before. Most recently, the Commission received the attached letter dated September 19th, 2024, from the property owner's attorney, Roberto DeMarco, who indicates that owner is still open to a resolution to save the building. The Commission still strongly supports the preservation of this building and its remaining within the historic Converse Square area, and recommends that this may be accomplished through relocation to the previously identified site at Malden High School, preservation at its current location, or incorporation of the intact building into the design of any future project on the property. In accordance with Title 12.12.010 Code of the City of Malden, the Commission intends to make this recommendation to the Planning Board and City Council pursuant to any special permit petition for the property. The Commission understands that 15 Ferry Street is part of a larger development site that includes the property 1 Salem Street, the former site of the building which the Commission had also determined was preferably preserved. Accordingly, the Commission will make recommendations to the Planning Board and the City Council pursuant to any special permit petition regarding 1 Salem Street. In addition, the Commission notes that the demolition of the building at 1 Salem Street proceeded subject to owner applicant's compliance with the following requirements, and that compliance is still pending. 1, the Historical Commission shall review and approve the architectural design, excluding height, and facade of any new building at 1 Salem Street. And 2, any new building shall replicate the exterior of the existing building at 1 Salem Street. The Commission thanks you in advance for your ongoing support and assistance to save this important historic building. Please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions. Thank you. Sincerely, Michelle Romero, City Planner, Clerk to the Malden Historical Commission.
So, Councilor Sika, I see your light on. Was that from last? All right. So, I mean, Councilor O'Malley, did you want to speak to this before at all, or just, right? Councilor O'Malley.
I think we can should we invite
All right.
Mr. Romero up?
All right, so Planner Romero, please come up, and if anybody has any questions, so yeah.
Speaks for itself. The Commission wanted that sent to you, as it says, just to remind you that the status is unresolved and the property owner is still willing to work with us, meaning the city, to try to save this important building. So the Commission just wanted it brought back to your attention. It understands that there's still a couple papers that had been proposed by Councilor O'Malley, which maybe he's going to speak to, that are still pending in, I think it's Public Property Committee, but again, because they have the demolition permit, it could occur at any time. So the Commission's very sensitive to that and is, like I said, bringing it back to your attention.
Right, Councilor O'Malley,
So just as an update, so we have the papers in Public Properties. One of the areas that we've been trying to see if it could possibly be moved to is directly across the street on the high school on Ferry Street. I believe it's where the former Malden Evening News was. I have been told that it can't work there because of potentially some underground utilities, but I haven't not been able to obtain any engineering drawings or building plans. So I was gonna ask the city planner, is there a way you could try to help us locate those plans? I've kind of come up dry. I've checked with the building department, I've checked with the public facilities department and the city engineer. But one of the challenges that we face is that we don't have a city archive still. Our archives are in basements all over the city. And so finding some of these documents is a challenge. But it would be really helpful to know, and I guess I could just call DigSafe. Maybe DigSafe is the easiest route to go and ask for them to let me know where things are. But if we could find plans for that lawn, that would be super helpful. Otherwise, I mean, the applicant wants to do a community meeting. A community meeting has not been set yet. Ideally, it would be nice to save this. We could potentially put it as a condition in their special permit if it goes before the planning board or the city council. I don't exactly know. But I do know that they originally said that they were gonna save this building and move it and donate it to us. They went before the CPC for funding to do the move. The CPC did not agree with where they were gonna move it, so they did not fund it. So unless we find another location, or they can incorporate it into the project, or we can somehow get it moved directly across the street, there's a good chance that this building will get knocked down.
Then I just have a question for Michelle. Do we know, like, the applicant, I know there was originally it wasn't clear who was gonna pay for a move. I mean, if they moved it to the original place that the council voted in support of, are they willing to do that? Is that clear from the letter?
It's my understanding that they were willing to do that, and they were in the process of locating the funding. They had some funding, and they went to CPC to ask for the balance of that funding, and CPC denied the request. And stated reasons why they didn't think it was an appropriate location and some other, information. So it's my understanding that if they didn't need the funding from CPC, they would have just moved it, right? But then apparently, it was brought to the commission's attention, and I believe Council O'Malley's as well, which has to do with one of his papers, that they were able to reduce the amount of funding they were asking for. So they were hoping to be able to get back to CPC. I think that's that paper that you had about having them go back to CPC. So I'm not really sure exactly where it stands, except, like I said, we received this update September 19th, that, they haven't heard any updates, and the commission invites him to the meeting every month and asks for an update. And usually he comes, and sometimes he comes and sends a letter, or sometimes he just sends a letter. This time he just sent the letter, and the commission just said, let's get it back on everybody's radar screen. So, I think if the funding were identified, they would move it. I don't think that wasn't an issue. They were gonna donate the building. They had staked out where the foundation would be, is what I understood, and everything. They were really moving forward with that location, except for the actual move itself. I will certainly look for plans. There were a lot of, every plan, all plans, or most plans to my knowledge, that were in all these archives have been scanned in. So I just have to, a lot of them have been scanned in, but they're not legible, or we haven't been able to categorize which folders, electronic folders, I should say, they belong in. So I can certainly look and see what I can find. I'll look at the high school, the site, I'll look up the addresses. I can look at the, archives that are electronic. I can certainly look. I don't know what I'll find. If you've already asked the city engineer, I would think he would know about utilities underground, but I don't know. I don't know what I'll find. I'll look for the plans, and that's it. That's all I have.
Councilor O'Malley, have you looked with Steve Fama and the GIS system, whether there's anything there?
No, I have not, but I don't know if that would be the level of detail needed to.
Oh, yeah, because some things are there, so,
Yeah, you can look on, excuse me, you can look on the GIS. Anybody can put on the layer for utilities and see the same info, so you could look at that. I don't know if what's there either.
Right, and you may, there's some level of utilities that may not even be on there, so you might. But you might want to check with Steve. I mean, I do note that we do have a table paper 9924 that talks about the CPC and asking them to reconsider the application. Counselor O'Malley, would you want us to move forward on this in the near time, or just, I mean, that was your resolve, or should, I mean, we could move it off the table if you wanted, that would be the thing we could do tonight. Okay, but, so, that's, all right. So, all right, we have Counselor McDonald, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So, one of your papers, Councilor O'Malley, is in the Public Properties Committee, which is looking at other options. It's been tabled because we have come back to this a couple times, as folks may remember, just for folks watching. We've had 2 or 3 meetings about this property in the Public Properties Committee. We had Mr. DeMarco come in and talk with us, and he did say he had a willingness, his client had a willingness to negotiate about the property and who pays for what and how much, which I think is reflected in the letter that you see attached to the Historical Commission's letter. But he didn't commit to a specific dollar amount or anything like that. But, I mean, I think to your earlier point, there isn't a solution present yet that seems to satisfy the core needs of that someone can pay for and that the city and the community and the owner are broadly willing to accept. So I wanted to offer, I'm happy to have another Public Properties Committee meeting and talk about this if you want to go into more detail about it. I just feel like it's just like a very detailed conversation and hard to have it, well at the full council table and when there's not a plan to actually discuss or take action on. So I wanted to offer to do that if you have more information to bring forward, and I would like to make a motion at the appropriate time to just place this on file.
All right, and then seconded by Councilor Colin Hayes. So right now, the motion is to place the communication on file, and then we'll take Councilor McDonald's word that we'll get something to Public Properties. So all those in favor of putting the communications on file, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that paper, that communication is placed on file. So next, committee reports, right?
Paper 378-24, committee report, that the Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, to whom was referred papers 356 and 357, series of 2024, having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends both these papers out favorably as amended to the full council.
All right, Councilor Linehan for the paper.
Do we need a motion to receive?
We do.
Oh, yeah, motion to receive the report by Councilor Linehan, second by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the paper is received. Then, Councilor, do you want to read the paper as amended?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay, so the first paper is 356-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden is hereby amended by adding Title 12, Chapter 12, Section 500, Site Plan Review, Educational and Religious Uses.
All right, so Councilor Linehan for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. So again, we kind of referenced this a little bit earlier in the agenda, but essentially, this is Councilor Winslow's paper, which would create a new site plan review process for educational and religious uses. As a reminder to the community, site plan review is different, and before our permitting process, it is a supplemental process that allows us to look at things like aesthetics, lighting, layout, fit in the community, and just have a say on what those things look like and how they sort of fit in with the surrounding uses. So this would be creating a new site plan review process. There was full support in the discussion in the committee. We do have a couple of amendments, so I think what we'll need is vote to amend and then to vote on the paper. And again, we'd be looking to add this to the package of items that we're referring for a joint hearing. I think we don't strictly need to, but because we're taking up other elements of it, it makes sense for us to sort of bundle these things together and do a hearing at once if we're going to be opening up the zoning. So just to go over those 2 amendments, the first is that we did discover we need to add the specific words childcare facilities in addition to educational and religious uses. And then we need to make an amendment to send applicants for the site plan review process to the building commissioner and not the city clerk, which is how it was originally written. And I'm going to look to our clerk to make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay, thank you. And a huge thanks to the clerk who helped me keep track of all the changes that we made. It was a long discussion.
Okay, So why don't we move forward on the amendments? Any discussion? Do we have a second? Second, all right, so on Councilor Linehan's motion to amend the paper with, adding in childcare facilities and, changing the applicant, the place where applications go from the city clerk to the building commissioner, seconded by Councilor Crowe. Any further discussion on that? Okay, right, so do we have to take a roll call on this?
Yeah, no.
All right, so all those in favor of those amendments, say aye. Any opposed? All right, the paper's amended. So, do we have any further discussion on the paper then, as amended? So, all right. All right, so on Councilor Linehan's motion to refer to Joint Rules and Ordinance and Planning Committee, second by Councilor Sika. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that paper is referred to committees as amended. All right.
The second paper is 357-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden, Title 2, Chapter 16, Section 060, Commission on Energy Efficiency and Sustainability, is hereby amended by striking and replacing in its entirety with the following title and text.
All right, so, let's see, we already accepted the committee report. Do we have to accept this one as well?
No,
So-
we already did.
Okay, all right, so this is just then Councilor Linehan for the committee, that's all right.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is another pretty simple one. This was a paper originally filed by Councilor McDonald, arose from the Climate Action Plan process. This would really just rename that Energy Efficiency Commission to a Commission on Climate Action and Sustainability. It also codifies and clarifies the process by which folks from the community are appointed, and as Councilor McDonald had shared last time, there is going to be, actually a set of principles that folks will have to abide by and agree to that are, in agreement, in accord with our climate action plan in order to be appointed. Some of the things that we thought should be amended was just to clarify the wording around how we are going to recruit the youth members. It initially was worded that the superintendent would appoint those. We thought it would be best to shift that to the mayor and to broaden the language around how many high schools that we recruit from, to make sure that it's not just Malden Public, but really any high school age student that lives in Malden, regardless of what school they attend, is able to apply. And then we also amended it to make clear that former youth members may stay on as full members with I think a total cap of 10 years, just to make that really crystal clear in case we get some youth who serve and want to keep serving. So I think it's the same thing. We need to approve the amendments and then vote the paper itself.
All right,
Vote to refer.
All right, so.
Sorry,
first,
not vote to refer,
amend,
vote to amend, and then
All right,
vote on the
so
paper.
so any discussion on the amendments? All right, so on Councilor Linehan's motion to amend, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the paper is amended, and so then any discussion on the paper itself? So, all right, on Councilor Linehan's motion to enroll this paper, seconded by Councilor Taylor. All those in favor, let's see, do we have to take a roll call on this? Just a majority vote, so just, can we do a roll, do we just, no, okay. No, okay, so just, all those in favor of enrolling, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that paper is now enrolled, thank you.
Can I move
Okay.
to suspend our rules to ordain so that the
Oh,
appointment process can begin?
Okay, so we will, Councilor Linehan makes a motion to suspend the rules so that we can ordain tonight, so that takes, do we have enough? All right, so seconded by Councilor Sika. Clerk will call the roll on that, so yeah.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Taylor. Yes. Council President Winslow.
Yes, all right, so the rules are suspended so that we can ordain that this evening. So on Councilor Linehan's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor Colon Hayes, clerk will call the roll on that, right? So
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seega. Yes. Councilor Taylor. Yes. Council President Winslow.
yes, so that we are so ordained. All right, so all right, so that the commission is so changed and ordained. All right, thank you very much for all the work there. All right, so next paper.
Paper 379-24, Committee Report. The Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred papers 353, 354, and 355, series of 2024. Having considered the same, make the following report. Committee recommends these petitions out favorably to the full council.
Right, on Councilor Sika's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor Crowe. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that paper is received. Clerk will read the petitions.
Paper 353-24, petition pool tables, Fernandez Barbershop 2, 1000 Eastern Avenue, one table new. Paper 354-24, petition extended hours, Williams Services LLC, DBA Laundry Plus, 705 Eastern Avenue, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. new petition. Paper 355-24, petition taxi driver Pablo M. D'Souza, 85 Swan Street, Apartment 3 of Everett, new petition.
Right, on Councilor Sika's for the committee. Yeah. Let's see, let me get you up there. This is Councilor Sika. Right, there you go.
Thank you. The License Committee met last Tuesday to discuss these 3 petitions. We had compliance in the meeting with us. There were no issues. The committee recommended that these 3 petitions be voted out favorably this evening. Motion to approve.
All right, on Councilor Sika's motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Condon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so those petitions are hereby granted. Next order of business.
Paper 380-24, Committee Report. The Standing Committee on Public Property, to whom was referred paper 53, series of 2024. Having considered the same, make the following report.
So on Councilor McDonald's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor Taylor, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that committee report is received. Clerk will read the paper.
Paper 53-24, order that the City Council review the usage of the vacant property on Goodwin Avenue, known by City Assessor's Parcel 091-776-612, and make a recommendation as to its future usage and feasibility as a community garden.
All right, so Councilor McDonald for the committee. Let's see that. Give me a second here. All right, it's there you go. All right, great.
All right, thank you, Council President. So Councilor Taylor brought this forward from a resident on Goodwin Ave. We had, we kind of waited in the committee for the community, community meetings, engagement with neighbors. Originally, it was imagined as a community garden. Through that process of neighbor engagement, Councilor Taylor worked with our, realized that a community garden was not the right way to go, worked with our tree warden to have a really cool pocket forest project instead that has a lot of support. And I welcome you to speak about the project, Councilor Taylor, because I think it'd be really lovely for the community to know. So in the committee, we had a good discussion about that today. Our tree warden came in to talk with us, and we made an amendment to the order. We added at the end the following sentence. So the order as amended in committee, we would need to, I assume then affirm this on the floor. We would say, and that the City Council endorse the plan to implement a pocket forest at City Assessor's Parcel 091-776-612. I emailed this to Lisa, so she has a copy of it.
Right.
And so that just clarifies that that's where we're landing. The order was to make a recommendation on the feasibility as community garden, and this would be our recommendation. We're just documenting that in the order and trying to make sure that we, you can see kind of the integrity of how things have changed over time. So that would be, I would, that was the discussion in the committee.
So let's let's take up the
Can I
recommendation to
make-
amend, and then
Sure.
Councilor
Just
Taylor's-
one other note about the committee process. We ended up talking about the nature of the city council designating certain types of public land for certain uses. And we will be returning to our public property committee to review all of the city-owned parcels and options for how that land can be designated. But I just wanted to share that with my colleagues to say when we have a next public property committee that we have about this, you're welcome to come. We will see that you get a copy of the list of all those publicly owned parcels, and you may find some interest in that. And I think we were trying to tackle this holistically going forward. So,
All right, thank you, Councilor McDonald. So on Councilor McDonald's motion to amend the paper to include the language related to a pocket forest. Seconded by Counselor Taylor. Any discussion on that? So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the paper is so amended, and then we'll ask Counselor Taylor to speak about what this pocket forest is a little bit, so. Great.
Thank you. So I was really excited originally when one of my constituents back in January emailed me to see about doing a garden project on a piece of public land next to her house to bring the community together, to get people talking and really kind of like beautify a piece of land that was just sitting there, not doing much. And throughout that process, we met with a lot of the neighbors. We had a lot of great open conversations. A garden was not the right, it was just not the right fit for that spot. It wasn't, the community didn't want it there. But what, at that point, we invited Chris Rosa, our tree warden, to join the conversation. And he had just gotten this grant from the DCR for pocket forests, and this seemed like a really obvious fit. We put together this little image. This is the final image, which I think everybody should have a copy of. But prior to that, we did a few reiterations of this, brought it back to the community, and this is where we landed with full support. So it will be funded by the grant from the DCR. It will be the first pocket forest in the city of Malden. And it will also be the first pocket forest using that grant in the state. So the state is very excited. It'll be completed by October 23rd, which is when the state will be coming out to celebrate its completion. And I feel like I'm missing a piece of information, but it has been a wonderful process working with everybody, and I'm excited about moving this forward.
All right, great. So excellent. I do really want to congratulate Counselor Taylor. I was at the first meeting with the neighbors when the community garden was discussed, and it was a kind of rough meeting, and also thank the neighbor who brought this forward, and to see neighbors working together and coming up with an innovative approach, and our tree warden Chris Rosa for taking advantage of this opportunity. I think it's just a great example of what we can do as a community when we all work together and find ways to improve our neighborhood in a ways that that the neighbors want. So congratulations, Counselor Taylor, on that dedicated work, and looking forward to seeing this happen. So any other discussion then? So otherwise it would be on Counselor Taylor's motion to accept the recommendation of the committee to support the development of this pocket park on Goodwin Ave, seconded by Counselor McDonald. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that paper is approved, and so great, looking forward to that. And it sounds like it's going to happen pretty quick. So like less than 2 months. So good action. All right. So right now the docket is clear. Would anyone like to have personal privilege? I see a few lights still coming in. Councilor Colon Hayes.
Hi, I feel like I keep talking about this Hispanic Heritage Month Festival because we had to postpone it, but I do want to remind everybody, it is this coming Sunday in Maplewood Square from 12 to 1. We're going to have a lot of music and vendors, and it's very short.
12 to 3.
It's a long way, I'm sorry. It's 12 to 3:30. That's a good one. It's a pocket celebration, yeah. So it's from 12 to 3:30, I'm sorry. And so we're super excited about this, looking forward to it. Want to give a shout out to the mayor in Everett, who is letting us borrow his stage. So we're really excited about that. And then also the Community Health Fest that John Say is helping, he had reached out to me to hold, and it is just taken on a whole new world. It's like 11:30 to 1, but he has gotten over 50 vendors out there. There's going to be games and live band. I think it's Scott Brown Band or something. And it's, but he has just done a great job with that. And it's during, we're really happy, it's during, I think it's Health Education Month. So we're excited about that. And then the last thing, I was able to attend the Clean Water Fund and the NAACP hosted a free information session about lead in drinking water at the library. It was really well attended, and they gave great information. And the good thing to see was there was a lot of youth there. So I was super excited that there's a new club this year, the Eco Club at Malden High, which strives to inform peers on environmental issues. They were there. It was excellent. They asked great questions. Conversation on Roosevelt Park came up from the youth, which was great because they were talking about that no amount of lead is safe. So I was so glad to have them there and learn about this new group. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Cullen Hayes. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I wanted to give a quick shout out. There's a class of Emerson College students who most of you probably get the emails every other semester. They cover our council, and having gone to journalism school and having had to go cover a local city council, it's like very embarrassing and intimidating, and I always want to give them a shout out. I know that often they'll come in person, but they're actually watching on streaming tonight, and their professor, Mark Michelli, is a Malden resident, so he's really great about giving them, you know, the info on what we talk about and helping the kids learn how to cover politics, and I think it's really awesome. So I just wanted to give them a little a virtual shout out. I don't know, Councilor O'Malley, if you're planning to talk about the cosplay event in downtown. Okay, so really briefly, there is a event this weekend that I'm gonna probably get all the details wrong, but I'm gonna refer folks to the Malden Gaming District website for the full schedule. So for the first time ever, there's going to be a street festival, a cosplay celebration in downtown Malden on Saturday. I hope the weather holds off because I think it could be really great. It's basically, there's going to be panel discussions and beautiful artistic backdrops outside a lot of the restaurants for photo ops. One of our Switchbox artists has actually designed these, and Councilor O'Malley and I have been kind of assisting in getting those printed. And so there's going to be opportunities to really attend these speaking events at different businesses around the square, walk around, meet people, and then there's going to be some food and socializing at 110 Grill. So again, I would just direct folks to the Malden Gaming District website, which is maldengamingdistrict.com, or really their social media, especially Instagram, has kind of the full schedule, all the artists. It looks like an awesome event. It's really community driven and something that a few of us have been trying to help advise the folks planning it on how to build a successful community event. So I would say that even if cosplay isn't necessarily your thing, come on down and enjoy something new. And it's basically all day on Saturday, and check out that website for details. And then the last thing I wanted to just say is to keep Southwest Florida in our hearts. I have family evacuating tonight, as I'm sure a lot of us do. And just this looks like a truly historic storm, and just to keep them in our thoughts and prayers over the next few days.
Thank you, Councilor Linehan. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I just wanted to remind people that on Saturday, October 26th, from 3 to 5, we'll be hosting the annual Trunk or Treat event on the bike path on Canal Street. So come on down, get dressed up, and have some treats. And thank you for the councils that want to put in trunks. And then on the 30th, and I'll get the rest of the dates. Mr. Linehan is going to be doing a tour of the Bell Rock Cemetery. It is really quite rich in history. The more that he's talking about it, the people that he's looking up. So he's going to be hosting that. So I'll make sure that I have all that information. But I know that that's going to be the 30th. Yeah. At 4. Okay, perfect. Well, we'll get more information. But I do think, it is a lot of rich history there. And so you should come on down and learn.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Crowe. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you very much, Council President. I just want to thank everyone for a great stargazing and storytelling event that we had at Waits Mount this past weekend. The sky was clear. We saw great planets. I I think it was Saturn. Does Saturn have
Saturn, yeah.
rings?
Yes,
And
Saturn.
Was Venus? The moon was cool.
Yeah.
Supposedly there's another moon. Do you know we have another moon right now? There's some object is circling us as a moon for a temporary period of time. Pretty cool. I didn't either. So I just want to thank Malden Reeds and so if you feel weird, it's because we have a second moon. Thank Malden Reeds, MATV, Malden Police, the DPW, Anthony's. Y'all made it possible. I really appreciate it. And just to give a little more context about the car wash thing. So, you know, in the effort of full transparency, I just don't want anyone to think I was trying to like get anything under. So at 1100 Main Street, the location of what was going to be a Popeyes restaurant has been issued a building permit for a car wash. I'm a fan of car washes. I get it. If you remember correctly, I tried to rezone this from highway business to neighborhood business. It's because these type of uses are no longer in conformity with the neighborhood. I am down to rezone Broadway. I'm 100% on the same page with you. But that doesn't mean that this particular, parcel should be heavily focused to a drive-through, heavy in and out car traffic. It's just very dangerous. The pedestrians, the Oak Grove Village, the Pine Banks, the train. And so if you live at Oak Grove Village in Malden, there are a couple of buildings there, which is Island Hill Ave, or if you live in Oak Grove Village in Melrose, or if you bring your animals to the Pine Banks Animal Hospital, you might care about a car wash going in next door. I can only imagine what the dogs and animals are going to be like with these vacuums in the industrial blower going at all hours of the day. But,
Councilor O'Malley?
I've asked for a list of abutters. I got the list of abutters. Unfortunately, the way we notify people when things like this happen is we send them to property owners only. So we got 3 abutters. So I'm going to be looking into the residents who actually are living there and communicating what's going on. Y'all might have the opportunity to question whether or not this should go forward. And just to provide a little bit more context, as Councilor Winslow of all people is rushing me on, is that we did rezone this as part of the MBTA community zone. And one of the feedbacks that we did receive from residents is that they would like to see a residential use in this location. We can't dictate what's going to happen, but I do know what I heard from my residents is that they don't want something that is going to have such an impact on pedestrians. A drive-through is horrible, and so is the in and out of a drive-through, of a car wash. Thank you for listening to me. I look forward to taking it up soon. Bye.
All right, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Taylor.
Thank you. Just a couple of announcements for the month of October happening in Ward 5. So the date for the Haunted Forest or Haunted Woods, which is not the Pocket Forest on Goodwin Ave. We're not haunting that yet. This will be at Pine Banks on October 26th at 5 p.m., right after Trunk or Treat. This will be geared a little bit more, you can use your own caution with your children, kind of like what levels of scary they like, but it will be geared towards an older child, junior high and up adults. So, but again, small children, if they're spooky, go ahead and bring them. There'll be nothing inappropriate, just scary. And then the following day on the 27th, from 3 to 5 p.m., we will be celebrating with the little ones, and again, all ages, at the annual Forestdale School Halloween party. So feel free to swing by there, get your costume on, and come enjoy those 2 events in Ward 5.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. So then, See no lights, I will do Ward 6, just before the Forest Dale at Salem Wood from 12 to 3 on October 27th. The Maplewood Association is sponsoring the Halloween Fest for Maplewood area, so come on out. That's at the Salem Wood School from 12 to 3. So games and fun and other type of entertainment. It's been a great event. So that's happening at Salem Wood School. And then I did, just for your information, I handed out a couple things. Mystic Valley Elderly Service, I saw them at the community event that was at Ferry Way School this weekend. They mentioned some of their funding for Meals on Wheels has been cut. So they are having a fundraiser on Wednesday, October 23rd at the Irish American from 6 to 9. They were just wanting to make sure I got this out to counselors, inviting you, and encourage you to invite anybody in your networks to come out and join them to help with Meals on Wheels. So that's just one thing. And the other thing was, I went to the Mass Municipal Association. They had their legislative day up in Peabody, so I went to that. It was interesting to go to that. But one of the things, I don't know if all of you are on the newsletter for the Mass Municipal Association, but one of the things that's difficult, I'm getting, our transportation planner, Jack Woodhouse, resigned in the past month. I've gotten a lot of feedback. He was working very effectively with a lot of community residents, and just kind of shocked that happened. And one of the things I say to the mayor, we need to continue this. There's been a lot of contention that our transportation planners have had to deal with. But one of the things, I handed out this page 6 from the Beacon, from the Mass Municipal Association, $25 million in federal funding awarded for road safety to local communities. So communities Abington, Boston, Clinton, Haverhill, Lynn, MBTA, New Bedford, Peabody, Quincy, Watertown, hundreds, if not millions of dollars handed out to local communities who come up with a plan for safety. And I know it's even more being a ward counselor, constantly hearing from community members about wanting the streets, to be safer, people not to speed. I struggle. I mean, tomorrow is walk to school day over at Linden. We know this crossing guard got hit at Linden, struggling to keep crossing guards at Broadway and Salem. The safety of our streets is on the mind of our residents. They want the city to do more. We have to work together to come up with plans and work to successfully with our transportation professionals, because we're losing out to other communities. We can get these grants, but we have to get our act together. So, and it is partly the city council has to be supportive of working with that, and I'm talking with the mayor. I think we'll have some actually bolder initiative coming up in the next few months to talk about how to move more boldly on this, to really lean into this issue harder, get community impact. I mean, one of the things we did in the spring, asked Jack Woodhouse to have some community meetings. We had some of that controversy on one, but we need community input to find out what the biggest priorities that we can all agree on, so we can pursue these grants, because otherwise we're just losing out. Our roads are getting worse. Our people, it's unsafe for our motorists, people walking, people biking, people taking the bus. We need to take the steps that other communities are doing to make our roads safer for everybody. So that's just, and there's money out there if we get our act together. So I just wanted to express that, and take care and enjoy these great days of fall, everybody. So thank you very much. Great.
I move to adjourn.
A motion by Councilor O'Malley to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Linehan. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.